Hello, good evening. Welcome. This is Ghana Tonight. We're live from a news hub at Desawe Kanda. Also live on TV3 Ghana on Facebook, DSTV channel 279, all across the world on 3news.com. I am Alfred Ocansey. Tonight, reactions pouring after the report by the then Minister for Environment, Science and Technology, Professor Kwabena Frimpong Boateng, is leaked to the public. We get some reactions from some of the persons who have been named in this report as we go on the show. Stay with us. Some details coming up. Tamari refinery workers are asking that the managing director be sacked. We'll tell you why. Stay with us. Also tonight, Muslims around the country and around the world prepare to celebrate Eid Mubarak. We'll tell you how the economic situation and the increasing cost of living is impacting on this year's Eid celebrations. Stay with us. As always, let's hear from you. We have a question on our Facebook page demanding that you also share your thoughts as well, your views and your comments, asking the specific question: who or which institution should investigate Professor Kwabena Frimpong Boateng's report and the claims that have been captured in that particular report? Should it be the CID of the Ghana Police Service, the Office of Special Prosecutor, or the Commission on Human Rights and Administrative Justice, SHRAJ? We're asking this question. Go on our Facebook page. Let's hear from you. Share your thoughts with us. Let's settle for Ghana Briefs.
Several persons named in Professor Frimpong Boateng's 36-page Galamsey report have been responding to allegations made against them. Information Minister Kojo Ponkroma and a leading member of NPP, Gabi Otredako, are among the latest. The Ofuasia Irebi MP in a 7-page statement has challenged claims he contracted media persons to run down Professor Frimpong Boateng over his fight against illegal mining. Gabi Otredako has also described the former minister as weak.
It even tells you how weak the minister's understanding of his position is. If what I did was illegitimate, why don't you take the right action? He's going to report me to the minister as if he's a teacher and the president is a master and I'm what? A school prefect and I've done something wrong. I mean, what kind of silliness is this? I mean, I don't even want to comment on that. That he reported me to the president. For the president to do what?
The 30-day journey of Ramadan has ended. As Muslim faithful prepare to observe the festival of feast, many are of the view this year's celebration would be modest. The biting effect of economic recession has affected the purchasing power of not only the middle and low class, but the affluent as well.
These dresses we are selling, they are all foreign products. So you can see that the price of last year, you only have to double it and plus a little bit on it.
Former President John Mahama has defended the decision by his government to allow engineers and planners to desilt the Odo drains. Speaking to party delegates in the Lada, Dikotopon and Klote-Kwale constituencies, the NDC flag bearer hopeful promised that a visionary NDC government will address decisively the drainage and flood issues affecting parts of the capital. The Ashanti Regional Police Command is on a manhunt for the killer of a 26-year-old lady at a dome in Kumasi. Mami Ajua was shot multiple times on Thursday night by the suspect, whose name has been given as Tony, aka Tagore. Twitter has begun removing the Legacy verified check marks from profiles of thousands of celebrities, politicians, journalists, and many users. Users including former President John Mahama, singer Jackie, and some ministries have all lost the blue badge.
Every excavator that has been stolen will be found.
Why were they stolen? You were sleeping on the job, perhaps?
I was not sleeping on the job.
You have soldiers to guard excavators, yet they went missing. How did that happen?
Pardon me?
You have soldiers as part of the Operation Vanguard protecting these equipment. How did they disappear overnight?
No, they did not disappear overnight. I mean, you'll get a facts pretty soon. I don't want to overstep what the security people are doing, the investigators. So let us be patient. You'll get the facts pretty soon.
Well, that's Professor Kwabena Frimpong Boateng a couple of years ago, in fact, over 3 years ago, about this particular issue. And the people who have been reacting to the leaked report that he submitted to the president and the chief of staff some almost 3 years ago, this 19th of March 2021, are also accusing him. You heard Charles Bishu last night on this show alleging that he's also not clean and so on, even though he failed to state specifically what he meant by Professor Kwabena Frimpong Boateng is not clean. But now there's been consistent denials and responses by some of the people who have been mentioned in this report concerning the details of this said report. So that's why we want to just encourage you, because power in this democracy resides in you and I. Who has to investigate? So we establish the truth. Because now it appears it's Professor Frimpong Boateng's word against the many people who have been captured in this report. We don't know whether the presidency initiated any investigations after this report was submitted to them in 2021. So far, the people who have been speaking, Gabi Asare-Chodako, take a look at this. This is what he said in an earlier interview with Accra-based City FM. When I called him, he said that's my clients, that's Gabi Asare-Chodako's clients, shouldn't have been given the permit to enter the forest. Remember, Professor Frimpong Boateng's report indicated that there was a company that Gabi Asare-Chodako was a lawyer for, which had been giving which was seen mining in a forest reserve. Now, this is what Gabi is responding to. He said that when he called Professor Frimpong Boateng, he said that Gabi's client shouldn't have been given the permit to enter the forest. I asked him if he was challenging the permit issued as fake, and he said they shouldn't have been issued. He gave me his side of the story, which he believed that they were doing mining and not prospecting. My intention was to understand why a legitimate company with all the licenses and permits required to do prospecting was stopped from doing its work. And that is what we lawyers do. It's my job to protect the interests of my client. So, at this time, there has to be a clear establishment whether indeed the said company that Gabi was lawyer for was engaged in mining or prospecting. Bear in mind, Professor Frimpong Boateng added a satellite footage of the activities of this said company in his report, which the presidency has. Gabi continues, he says, their jobs were frustrated. That's the company that he was lawyer for. Jobs were frustrated, and he had before him all the documents they were required to have. They were doing legitimate mining, that's according to Gabi, and they were being frustrated. That is why I placed the call to understand why that was happening to them. So he clarifies that that phone call was not to interfere in the job of Professor Frimpong Boateng, but to clarify. He said a number of things, but he's not alone in these reactions. Let's take a look at this. Lord Comey. Lord Comey was also mentioned in this report, plus a number of other people. Lord Comey has also responded. He issued a statement. We have portions of it. He says, for purposes of setting the record straight, I wish to state without shred of doubt that I have never engaged in or supported legal mining as contained in the said report. He goes on to say there is no point prior, during, and after the appointment of the said minister have I called, text, or even assigned anyone to seek favor in respect of engaging in illegal mining to warrant his unsubstantiated claim. He goes on and on. Quite a number of it you'll find as well. Kojo Oponkroma, Information Minister, MP for Swashia Iribi, has also responded to his side of the report that relates to him about the said meeting that Kojo Oponkroma is alleged to have convened, according to the report, some MPP and NDC journalists at some hotel somewhere in Dodowa to map out a strategy on how to tarnish Professor Frimpong Boateng's image and run a campaign against him. He, of Swashia Iribi MP, Kojo Oponkroma, has also responded. He issued a statement. He says, over the years, I had nothing but great admiration for Professor Frimpong Boateng, his public-spirited works, and goes on and on and on. He says he feels gravely offended over the false claims he has made and the hurtful conclusions he has sought to exact about him, precisely because of the great esteem in which he had held for him. And then yesterday also you heard the former member of parliament, Professor Joseph Albert Kwam, speaking on this show. He is also captured in this report, also giving his responses. The question now is, the Ghanaian people deserve to know exactly where the truth lies, or the facts, not the truth, but the facts in all of this. Do we have the institutions that we can trust to establish the facts in all these responses and the details of the report? Because if it goes back and forth this way, trust that it will definitely die off. And look, for as long as we stay on it and we're not getting official responses, the media will shift to the next big headline. So for us tonight, we're asking the question, if the Ghanaian people, obviously, as we demand and deserve the truth and the facts about this, so that we move beyond the rhetoric and the pretense about this fight against illegal mining. Which institution can we trust to do this? So go on our Facebook page. We've listed 4 institutions. Tell us what your thoughts are. Which institution you trust can do the job of separating the wheat from the chaff, so that we all know. But Otumfuo Osei to the second said something just about a year ago about illegal mining. Take a look.
As I'm making time, Master Mabekano, before I read my speech, it doesn't make cancer baby and business here. And regional minister name, Meba, Jina Pomba, and almost say, and Epa Choya can't be a work at and so Mr. President Mekana. And this are no Musibia, Mekanson, Fufrobia, Ed Kakra. As I said, the crane me catch you almost said, Galamse, ye can, and them have me chimu, ye chimu, send me a year, you have nature me and son. A mobile 30% in Boma ye Galamse. Yanni to them, hey. See a GM watching ya, ye chimu, mobile 30% and not any Boma ye Galamse. Ya kano krenwa ye be dada ya ho e be ye conference ya be say me che ya o ma be ye Galamse ade ba ko se nananu ne twa asase no ma ye o kan wo anim ha no mo kan na bia o twa bia o twa asase o de ye Galamse bia wo so wa ku bua ho for se wa ye bone Master Mabekano, before I read my speech, it doesn't make cancer baby and business here. And regional minister name, Meba, Jina Pomba, and almost say, and Epa Choya can't be a work at and so Mr. President Mekana. And this are no Musibia, Mekanson, Fufrobia, Ed Kakra. As I said, the crane me catch catch it almost say, Galamsey, I can, a damn have me chimu, ye chimu, send me a year, you have nature me and son. A move 30% the moment you Galamsey. Yanni to them, hey. See, a GM watching ya, you chimu, move back 30% and not any moment you Galamsey. Yeah, kind of prayer no. You better die. Why be a conference here? Say me say ya. O my be a galamsey ade. But was in an unknown chance as in a mile. What can we anymore? No more kind. I never be out to be a chance as you are the galamsey. You was off who brown who for why upon it.
Decided to play it a couple of times just to have the message sink in. Right? Just for the benefit of those who don't understand the local language, the Chi. It says, this was at a conference organized by, at the instance, so I think the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources, to talk about ways to fight illegal mining. The first one was done in Accra, and then they took it to other regions. And the revered king said this in the presence of the officials who were at this ceremony, that the people who were gathered there, 1/3 of them, they knew the people who were involved or engaged in illegal mining. Yes, and those same people were the ones who had been called to talk about how to fight illegal mining. That's why you can understand the many who say, oh, we're just joking. I mean, it's just the pretense and the lip service that we paid to this fight against illegal mining. So who can we trust in this fight against illegal mining to be able to establish exactly where the truth lies in this particular issue that has come to the fore? The concerns and the questions that the many Ghanaian people are asking while we have our water bodies that have been destroyed by illegal mining and the forest reserves, 47 forest reserves according to this report, we had some mining going on there. So is this the CID of the Ghana Police Service, the Commission on Human Rights and Restorative Justice, SHRAJ, or the National Investigation Bureau, the NIB? These are the questions that we're asking. Go on our Facebook page. Let's hear from you. We'll be back shortly after this quick break. Engineer Kenashigbe will share his thoughts about which institution he thinks can help establish the fact about this. And then we'll read some of your comments as well. Stay with us. We'll be back shortly. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to demonstrate to you the superior properties of Flamingo paint as compared to other paint brands on the market. We take equal quantities of Flamingo paint and this ordinary paint. We then dilute them with water. And now, let the test begin. The gentleman on the left is going to apply the ordinary paint, and the gentleman on my right will use the Flamingo superior paint. As you can clearly see, Flamingo has the obvious better hiding. Furthermore, Flamingo has painted a much larger area. You know, 1 bucket of Flamingo paint is equal to several buckets of any other paint brand on the market. Flamingo paint is made with superior formulation to give superior durability, superior hiding, superior coverage. Flamingo paint, simply superior.
Galamsey man and woman, chiefs, Papa farmer, Papa soldier and policeman, Mr. DCE, Mr. politician and businessman, Mr. foreigner, your greed is destroying our future. You are selling our precious rich farmlands, you are destroying our forests, and you are destroying our water bodies. you are gradually emptying our country of our prized cocoa through illegal mining. You may be doing this today for gold and money, but tomorrow this country will lack drinking water, our forests will be depleted, and we will have next to nothing from cocoa exportation. If we do not end this, your sons and daughters will live in a very dark future, filled with diseases, violence, famine, and poverty. We have the power to correct the wrong by standing together and supporting government to stop the pollution and destruction. There are community mining and alternative livelihood programs happening in your communities. Sign on and mine the legal and responsible way. Ghana, let's unite and work together to end galamsey. This message is powered by the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources and the Minerals Commission.
Everybody knows Acrobato. And if you know Acrobato, it means you know M-Punch Homeopathic Clinic. M-Punch Homeopathic Clinic is my pillar. Let's hear what others are saying about M-Punch Homeopathic Clinic. Who will be careful M-Punch one?
Chesena me ankasa me period no say problems wom ntina ma wo ho idea ma me papa chesena nya asem ketewa na me point no mo hwe me modem no mo hwe bibia na so mo meduro me fae no ene ma won kra me enu foforo kwa na mkwan mu a eba head everything yourself
me ma me no adwodwo eda ho a wontumi nante ene ne ko end point o mama nuru a ene ne ho idea watimi asori anante.
That's end point for you.
Of Acrobato.
Hello.
Hey, ohwehwe what che.
Okay.
A free bra wo di end point wa dance. Am me call you no. Me just say my name koye and person my emre nyina and na magina sebema na me no be fie for there e ho na nyina jaresa.
You heard everything. I have secret. M-Punch is my secret. M-Punch Homeopathic Clinic. I'm free.
At long last, Blue Jays Vodka makes a bomber kit. Blue Jays Vodka makes Numbi a fine.
The guys are chilling with Blue Jays Vodka mix.
Wow! Numbi a tasty.
Can we join you guys? We are all single. Yeah. I'm fun.
Blue Jays Vodka mix a day. Taste me kama. Enjoy the unique taste of Blue Jays Vodka mix. Blue Jays Vodka mix Numbi a fine.
Blue Jays Vodka mix. Blue Jays Vodka mix.
Numuni nyansem wonton manimpa woni mfie don woche. Ensesa apemfo.
Well, welcome back. This is Ghana Tonight. We have loads of your messages on Facebook. The question that we're asking, which institution you trust can investigate these claims captured in Professor Kwabena Frimpong Boateng's report to establish the facts and separate the wheat from the chaff. So we know that regardless of these responses from the people, or beyond the responses from the people who have been captured in this report, we want to know exactly whether what is captured in there is indeed the case or otherwise. I think the Ghanaian people deserve this. But Engineer Dr. Kenashigbe is the lead on the media campaign that all of us, the media fraternity, launched to help fight illegal mining in this country. He's been speaking and sharing his thoughts about which institution he thinks can get into this to establish the facts. Take a look.
The interesting thing is that this is a report from the chairperson of the Interministerial Committee, and once he makes statements like this, and he's corroborated that this is something coming from him, you need to take it with the seriousness that it deserves. But you also need to realize the fact that everybody who has been accused in this document, this report that was sent to the president in 2021, is innocent till proven guilty. You also need to recognize the fact that I'm very, I'm not too sure the defining thing would be what they all would say. What we would expect done is that this report needs to be rigorously investigated. We would expect that the Office of the Special Prosecutor would get involved in this because, there are issues of corruption that have been raised and, related issues. And this has to be properly looked into. It is interesting that one of the sound bites you play mentions the fact that from the former secretary of the Interministerial Committee, who says that that the professor is also not clean. What does that mean? Does that mean that others are dirty and he's also dirty? You know, because when he says he's also not clean, it doesn't mean that others are also dirty and he is not clean. So I think it is really important that this issue needs to be treated with all the seriousness that it deserves. Well, fortunately, the law of this land the Constitution talks about the fact that sovereignty resides in the people. The law is not a respecter of anybody, you know. So I would expect, you know, that the special prosecutor would get into work. I would expect that because you remember that the president has referred this thing to the police. So I'm hoping that the police will get into work. Not that I am too hopeful that any much will happen, because as we speak, the steering committee of of your media coalition against Galamsey petitioned the IGP. The IGP referred the petition to the Director General for CID. We are yet to get an invitation from the Director General. We are hoping to be writing a letter. You remember that myself, Lawyer Martin Kwebu, and two others, we petitioned the Director General of CID on the Akonta mining saga, when a minister for lands and natural resources accused the Akonta mining, who has one of its directors as the MPP's Ashanti regional chairperson, and nothing has happened to that. So when it comes to the CID, I am not too, positive that much would happen, but it would depend on what we, the media, that civil society, businesses do, because you see, the challenge that is ahead of us, the crisis that we are in, is a very serious one.
Well, so that's Engineer Ken Ashigbe there. He is one of the leaders of this media coalition against illegal mining. He's cast doubts about the CID of the Ghana Police Service because of his own experience. In fact, a group that he is also part of, with the likes of Lawyer Martin Kwebu, petitioned them about this Akonta mining matter. They haven't heard anything. So he says, look, for the CID, he's going to rule them out. But he mentions the Office of the Special Prosecutor. That institution is one of 4 institutions that we put on our Facebook page. So if you go on our Facebook page, TV3 Ghana, right now, you'll see this poster. What we're asking is, this Professor Frimpong Boateng report, who or which institution should investigate Professor Frimpong Boateng's report on these allegations of top government and MPP officials allegedly involved in Galamsey? SHRAJ, the Commission on Human Rights and Restorative Justice. B, Office of Special Prosecutor. C, Police CID. And D, NIB, that's former BNI, now National Investigations Bureau. A number of you have been commenting. In fact, we have loads of your comments coming through, so I'll do the best I can to read as many of them as we have received so far from the commentary, and then also the many comments. This one here says that, Enam Fred, with the current government in power, none of these institutions can investigate this matter and come out with the answer Ghanaians deserve. You said they are all polarized by government. This one here says, I think an independent ad hoc commission should be set up to look into this, just like the Brazil World Cup saga. However, my worry is who will implement the final findings and recommendations from the commission. Is it the president? You ask. Benjamin Achu, thank you. This one here says, leaders, this is Philip Emils, says leaders in Ghana and Africa as a whole need to be careful before the general population loses trust in them. Well, I don't know if you've tested the trust levels as yet, because that also has its own issues, as we have seen right now. This one here also says Parliament. You want Parliament to step in to do the job. Thank you. We have another one here, says Lukman, says that man, I don't know who you're referring to, says has always been against their acts. If you watch that video, he was totally not with them, but had no option. He says, Professor Frimpong Boateng, your view is a good man. This one from Raphael Agboja says, all the institutions mentioned, the four of them, you say, are politically biased. Joseph Achengo says, Parliament should do that. The last should be the police. Okay. Ablaji Chow says, all the sectors I have mentioned in this, you're talking about Shraj, OSP, the police, BNI, oh, that's NIB, I beg your pardon. You say, have all of them have the appointees of the president in there. So what we are asking for is a reverse gear. Okay. This one here says that I'm not sure, I'm not sure any Ghanaian is surprised at this report. This is something we suspect but can't speak about it because we know, even when we do, nothing is going to change. Paul Kobo says this case is going to be a waste case. It will not go far. And that is where the concern is. If the people, clearly we're seeing consistent expression of a loss of trust and confidence in the institutions who are supposed to get into this and investigate to establish the facts. Consistently, at least with the respondents to this question that we put on Facebook, a number of them not to having enough trust in these institutions. That's the critical concern there, and which we all have to look into and be concerned about. Ebenezer Obenche says Ghana has no credible institutions. That's a worry. And so what's the alternative then? A very, very, very big issue. This one, a number of you talking about Parliament can do a good job. Sorry, we didn't have Parliament to it, but thank you. It says Parliament, you say can do a good job. This one says, if there's any energy to investigate this issue, let's divert that energy in. Okay, that's your view. This also talks about as if he didn't mention NDC officials too. So, in fact, it is indeed the case that in the report, as we highlighted yesterday, if you watch the show, he talks about some NDC official allegedly as well in the Western region in their involvement in illegal mining. That's as captured in the report. Della Mensa says none of the institutions can be trusted to do a good job. In fact, it goes on and on. Caesar Jr. wants external bodies, an external investigative body to do it, to establish this. In fact, this goes on. And as we scan through the almost 100 comments we got in the last less than 45 minutes we put this, a number of you are all raising doubts about the four institutions, at least, that we put there, and then also suggesting that Parliament should look into this matter. Stay with me. Coming up next, we go straight to the Komewu constituency. There's something happening in there. We'll give you updates ahead of that, the parliamentary, that's by-election there. But you can go on our Facebook page and keep your comments coming in about this particular issue and the question that we put on our Facebook page concerning the Professor Kobna Frimpong Boateng's report. Welcome back. This is Ghana Tonight. Now, ahead of the by-election in the Komewu constituency, and even before the NPP also that is vetting, a number of the persons who express their interest to contest have stepped down. At least 2 out of the 8 people who initially indicated their interest to contest this by-election on the ticket of the NPP have decided to step aside. This is one of them. Take a look.
Was taped as one of the leading candidates in the MPP primary slated for Sunday, April 23. But this will certainly be the end of the road for the former Port and Harbour Authority boss, Edward Kofi Osei.
I have resigned for personal reasons. That I was not disqualified during the vetting process, nor was I pushed out as alleged by some conspiracy theorists. I simply resigned. I simply resigned to bring peace and calm into the constituency that I love dearly and the MPP party that I have served all these years.
Then the issue of his eligibility in 2020. In 2020, lawyer Edward Kofi Osei contested in the MPP primaries against the late Baswa. By then, he still had his U.S. citizenship status not severed. But what was the reason, and what could have been a possible implication had he won that particular primaries?
During the 2020 primaries, I was vetted and passed successfully, even though I had a U.S. passport. This is possible because under the Supreme Court interpretation of Article 24(2), which talks about owing an allegiance to another country, and the case is called Republic versus High Court.
So now we know lawyer Osei, who is the former member of parliament and one-time parliamentary candidate for the NPP in there, has also pulled out. Now, William Evan Sinkum has been following this quite closely. In fact, he spent quite some time in the constituency over the last few days gone by. He's connecting with me on Zoom. William, thank you so much. Apart from lawyer Osei, the former managing director of the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority, who else has stepped aside from this NPP primaries for the Kumewu constituency?
Well, so the numbers keep on shrinking. The latest, of course, is Yauba, the former member of parliament for the constituency, who took over in 2002 after the demise of Rio Ade Baswa until 2012, when he was also overthrown by the late Philip Baswa. He came in strongly, but just yesterday or last night, he also withdrew from the race. So now we have 5 people contesting for the sole slot to lead the NPP into the May 23 by-election. And on standby, we also have 427 delegates from 75 polling stations who are to elect their preferred candidates into May 23rd or May 23 by election.
I see. So with the start off with 8, now you have 5 of them who have gone through, and well, the party is yet to vet them, correct?
Oh, they have been vetted already. They've picked their slots. Of course, the notice of poll is also out.
Mm-hmm.
It came out before Penny Yaba tendered in his withdrawal from the race. So his position, which I'm sure is the 4th or 3rd, will be empty. Even though his picture will still be there, but the delegate will be told that he is not contesting, I'm sure, during voting. And so they have 1, 2, 4, 5 people or candidates to select among them who they think has the wherewithal to lead the Kumewu constituency.
Talk about some of the concerns and the reasons that all 3 gave. For instance, lawyer Osei talks about his reason being a certain sense of calmness that he wants to come to Kumewu and the party. What exactly does that mean? What caused him to now zero in the reason for his decision to step down as to bring calm to the constituency?
There was pressure on him. I mean, no 2 ways about that. You know, in 2020, he contested. And I can tell you that in 2020, a lot of things went wrong as far as Kumewu constituency primaries was concerned. And I dare say that there wasn't much of an attention given to it, despite the fact that there were certain unfortunate developments emanating from that particular constituency. Unlike today, where you have a lot of attention on Kumawu, I do not want to believe that the numbers are very scary for the ruling New Patriotic Party per the 2020 result, because we have an independent candidate who has as much as over 11,000, representing some 39%, against the late Basua, who had some 14,000, representing 51% of total vote share. The fear is that it has happened in Bekwai before, it has happened in Fomena, now Fomena even has a case now, it has happened in Bosome Frehom before, and they don't want it to repeat in one of the traditional strongholds of the ruling New Patriotic Party as far as the Ashanti region is concerned, which is Kumawu. And the more reason why we have a number of, executive from the national level to the regional level focusing their attention on Kumawu. For lawyer Edward Kofi Osei, he had issues, with dual citizenship. And that issue was still there in 2020 when he contested in the primaries against the late Basua. It was only good, maybe just good, for the MPP that he did not win that particular primaries, because if he had won, per what I have learned, as far as changing your citizenship, especially in the case of the United States, if all documentation are right, then you have some days, sometimes few months, for the process to go through. But if they have doubts about your documentation, then it can take as long as 2 years. So assuming, without admitting, that around that particular time, Dr. or lawyer Edward Kofi Osei had won the primaries and was actually using that 5 months, because between June and October, 5 months, to go through the process. Even
Sorry, William Evans Income, there's a freeze in that connection. We'll try to reconnect with William Evans Income, who is Ashanti Regional Correspondent and Northern Bureau Chief here at Major General. He spent the last 7 days in the Kumewu constituency interacting with the constituency delegates there, established that indeed 5 out of the 8 persons who earlier indicated their interest to contest on the ticket of the NPP in the by-election, which has now been announced by the Electoral Commission. 3 of them have stepped aside, giving us reasons why they decided to step aside. And we're going to find out shortly what the constituents themselves have been talking about. Because if you look at the historical analysis which we've established over the last few days, it's been a constituency that the NPP does not struggle to win from 1996 at least to date. The only time that we saw the NPP struggle, for the lack of better expression, is in 2020, where because of an independent candidate who was a member of the NPP but decided to go independent, drew about 11,000 votes, as against the late MP Basua, who won that constituency with about just a little over 14,000 votes. So it was just almost 3,000 difference between them. And so we understand that this person who contested as an independent candidate, William, is back on Zoom. William, so let's confirm this. This independent candidate who contested in 2020 and polled about 11,000 votes, beating even the NDC candidate there, is he going to contest this by-election?
He's contesting the by-election, and that is where the scare, is. For the ruling New Patriotic Party, and I'm not surprised that the likes of the chief scribe of the party, Justin Frimpong Kodria, the national organizer of the party, the second national chairman of the party, the national officer in charge of election and research, Evans Nimakon, together with almost every single executive member of the region, being frequenting Kumewu, engaging constituents, talking to the people, especially the delegates, just for them to understand the situation at hand. Because now there is also a division. I mean, we're talking about the late Baswa faction and then the district chief executive faction. And that played out during the 2020, primaries and of course, the election, because it also gave the independent candidates some level of leverage. I'm talking about the internal wranglings. Because if you are to look at the pattern, from 1996, when the NPP first won the Kumawu seat, till 2020, you could see some level of attrition rate in terms of, in nominal figures, especially, on the side of the NPP, especially from 2012, 2016, I think there was a general non-performance on the side of the NDC, so you wouldn't see that drop very well. But in 2020, it was very, very clear that the party wasn't doing well or isn't doing well as far as the Kumawu constituency, which is one of the traditional strongholds of the NPP is concerned. And that is why it has become very, very important at this time to the national and the regional executive to step up and ensure that they go back to their political glory days.
William, appreciate you as always. Thank you so much for this detail, and he's keeping his eyes close and watching closely how things play out in the Kumawu constituency. Stay with us here on your Election Command Center. William Evansin Kumar, Ashanti Regional Correspondent. Up next, the Tema Refinery. The workers are asking that the managing director be sacked, but the Energy Ministry, in fact, the Minister of Energy, Dr. Matthew Opoku Prempeh, is asking questions of the workers of the Tema Refinery as well. The Energy Minister, Dr. Matthew Opoku Prempeh, has been questioning how some $2.5 million worth of a product that he, through his influence as a minister, got to Tema Refinery, we understand, according to the minister, has gone missing. Take a listen to him.
There's a top management and a board, right?
But as a sector minister,
it's easy to always say there's a sector minister, and as soon as the minister does something, the minister is interfering. The same journalist around would accuse me if I go and I say I'm going to demand these changes. They'll say, but they're Ghanaian workers, but there's a management. We all have to decide as a country what we want. We live under the type of system that we want, right? I can tell you as a minister what I've done. Right? I gave Tor a new business opportunity in the premix fuel market. That all the condensate from Ghana Gas should go to Tor and use it for blending and premix fuel. Right? The last time I heard, over $2.5 million worth of condensate that got missing from Tor. If we all want Tor working, we don't want another ECG in Tor, do we? Because it will break the back of government, the bills in Tor. They have over $500 million of debt sitting on there. And go and look at how the debt's accumulated. People bring their crude to refine and then crude losses. I set up a committee that worked for 8 months just trying to reconcile Tor losses. My sister, you don't pay taxes for it to be a drain. You pay taxes for an efficient function of government. Government, I can tell you, is doing so much work to bring Tor together. As we speak, there are proposals lying down in Tor. The Attorney General is having a look, SIGA is having a look, Finance Ministry. Because you same journalists will come and say, government has sold Tor to his cronies.
Matthew Opoku Prempeh says some $2.5 million worth of crude condensate is missing at the Tema Refinery. Bernard also is chair of the Workers' Union. He's joining us on Zoom. So also thank you for joining us on Ghana Tonight. Well, before we get into this matter of the $2.5 million product that is missing, your managing director is saying that any staff who joins any intended strike will face the consequences. Have you heard this?
The organization has a managing director. He runs the day-to-day affairs of the organization. I believe the products are brought into the refinery, hand over to the refinery. And as a head, he knows who does what and who does what. So if the refinery cannot account for product that has been entrusted in their hands, then the heads must roll.
I see.
We believe that the managing director and his team are not performing to the task that they were appointed for.
Okay, but so you're saying that if there's anyone who has to answer questions about this $2.5 million worth of crude condensate that is missing at the Tomare refinery, it should be the managing director and his team?
My brother, every organization has its priority. If TOR is having problem with inventory, what the organization can do is that you can outsource your inventory department to a third party. And if you think that you have people who are doing things which are wrong in the industry, the best you can do is that you put measures in place to curtail that. I believe we've been hearing armed robbery cases in Ghana, day in, day out. Criminals are being arrested here and there. I don't think the police are just sitting down. That is their job, and they have to make sure that they curtail that. So if the minister, the CEO, the board, it's a corporate organization, and they are supposed to be measured. There are supposed to be checks and balancing. So if we are not doing that, you can't blame the ordinary staff. If the act is appointed to the refinery, has he been able to come out to tell us his strategic plan for the organization? What he intends doing for the organization? No. We've even asked harmlessly for him to come out and organize a deba to tell the workers his strategy. He's here to do that 1 year down the line. So my brother, as workers as we are, we work with instruction, we work with supervision. So if the people that we entrust our tax, we are paying them with our taxpayers' money, they cannot perform and we come out to complain, then what do we do as workers?
I see, but you see, there's a concern that we continue to blame the MD and the politicians, but you, the workers of TOR as well, how have you contributed to the current state of affairs over there with previous cases of fuel smuggling in which some workers were interdicted some time ago, and then we have other issues of, for instance, the fuel that was contaminated that also went missing. So would you say that the TOR workers are also innocent of this situation?
Respectfully, we have heard what the minister said, and to some of us, it's a news to us because we are not aware of any such thing. And as a sector minister, I will not doubt what he's saying. But if it is so, there is a head of the institution. And if the Minister of State is able to unravel that the state has lost $2.5 million, then heads must roll. And the heads must start from the head and comes down to whoever is involved. If there's any staff that is involved who is found culpable of such act, the law should take its course.
Talk about the law taking its course. And that's why you're asking that the managing director should be sacked? Ms. Owusu?
Yes, we are asking that the MD should go. And if there's any worker who is also found culpable should also be dealt with, not just to ask the MD to go. If he's found complicit and he's part and parcel of this arrangement, the law should take its course. He should be prosecuted. If the workers are involved, they should take them to court and prosecute them to send as a deterrent for others not to be doing that. There are genuine people working in the refinery, doing their genuine work. And, every society will have a black sheep. So let's weed those black sheep out.
Well, but for you as well, how have you helped in weeding out or identifying the black sheep? I mean, because you are not ruling out internal sabotage. You're saying that there may be some workers who are doing this, but you are the union chair. So how have you helped in identifying and dealing with some of your members who may be working against the greater good of the refinery?
My brother, every society we have other people who are not law-abiding. We will not sit down here and say that the workers of the refinery, they are saints. But they're supposed to be checks and balancing. So how can you be a managing director of an institution and say that there are some people are sabotaging your operations and you sit down and watch them?
Okay. Well, but I'd also thank you. Appreciate your time. He's the national chairman of the General Transport, Petroleum and Chemical Workers Union. Thank you very much. We end with Eid Mubarak. It's tomorrow, though, but the preparations are impacted heavily by the state of the economy. This is what's happening in the Ashanti region. Take a look. And Ibrahim Abubakar brought through with this particular report.
The month-long journey of no food and water during the day as she observed the fasting. All too soon, this is over for her. The 32-year-old next move is to plan how to celebrate the Eid al-Fitr and rejoice with her fellow Muslims for a successful completion of the 30 days fasting. But affording even a fowl is difficult due to increase in prices.
When I came to buy the fowl, I was expecting to get it around 80 cedis because of the current situation in the economy, but it has rather escalated to 120, 300 cedis, and it is very expensive for me to buy. So I couldn't get the one I want. So it's either I go back and top up or go and then search whether I will get minimum price to buy.
The holiday that marks the end of the Muslim fasting month of Ramadan used to be a guaranteed earner for most small shops and businesses in Muslim-dominated communities here in Kumasi. A big spending week that could match the take of the businesses for several months. This year, however, many worry they will not make enough.
Well, you should forgive your Muslim friends if they don't bring you food because of the economic situation, as you have heard there. But we're celebrating with them. So stay with us across all Media Journal platforms tomorrow. There's something special coming up. On behalf of the rest of the team, we thank you so much for your time here on Ghana Tonight. Join me at 7 a.m. tomorrow morning for Key Point. I am Alfred Ocansey. Have a good night.
Ghana Tonight is brought to you by Flamingo Paint. Superior durability, superior hiding, superior coverage, simply superior.